So I'm here to talk about where I work at the moment, or where I've been working for the last 5 years almost. It's Evolutionary, and I will tell you the story about how we got where we are after all these years. So Evolutionary, this is a continuum, by the way, from a presentation I had a couple of years ago in Madrid, where I told the story when we started off, right? Where we started off, and now I will tell you where we got today, how far we got. So we started small. Evolutionary started in '99, a couple of guys, was founded by 3 friends in San Francisco, and moved then to Barcelona and had based the headquarters here. And as all companies, when they start small, they're very easy to manage, right? You sit around at the kitchen table or wherever you are in your living room, and you just do the things you think you need to do, and everybody knows exactly what's going on. Very simple. The thing catches fire, right? You're a good idea, you're a startup or whatever you have, it grows, you start making money, and you become big. Right? You start hiring people, and it becomes just like really big, and you're proud of what you're doing. But you become slow too, right? You become really, really slow. Because what happens, right? The people are not talking directly anymore to each other. You have to have management layers and management in between layers and more layers. And people even don't know each other anymore, very often. So that's us becoming very big. The headquarters is still in Barcelona. We have offices in Madrid, Budapest, Paris, and in Stockholm, a small one, and Alicante. Yeah, Alicante. This is, of course, one of the symptoms we have, right? It's a big company, difficult to get people, right? Where do we find all these people? So we have to look all around for them. So, Odidio, quickly, 1,900 people. We have 80 million customers and around 50 teams, IT teams. We have 500 million searches a month and 400 people, roughly 400 people in IT. And we are represented in 40 countries, something like this. So that's my bragging part here. We want to become small again. But we want to go back to the kitchen table. At least that's one of the ideas. Getting that fast and decision making and all that, which is not happening, or was not happening. So that seems very easy. And many companies do exactly like this, right? They hire a consultant. That's us not being happy, and the consultant can really paint the unhappy people, right, their face, so I know exactly how to draw that face and what's the problem with it. We also know how we are happy. How should we be when we are happy? And we draw a line. This is the path to go, and you will be happy. Not that easy. And I think many change initiatives have fallen over this trap. But it is a simple linear path where you implement anything. Doesn't matter what it is, a reorganization or a methodology or anything. And you think you are going to be a happy company like you were before, a small company where we actually can work together and make quick decisions. Reality looks different. Looks a little bit more like this. We have performance, and if you want to change something in that performance, it changes in that pattern. It's a little bit like the letter J. It's called the J curve. And what happens here is we introduce a foreign element in the whole thing and what we want to change in anything, in methodology or how we do business. That creates, of course, resistance. We have been talking about resistance earlier, or David has been talking about it. And that resistance actually creates some chaos. And we start to integrate these ideas. We're getting used to doing something differently. We start using Scrum or Kanban or whatever we do. We do things differently, and we integrate the idea. And when we have a new status quo, and then comes the new CEO and wants to do a new change. You laugh, it's very often it is like that. So the lady up to the right, it's not my grandma, it's Virginia Satire, and she is known for research around these things, not about change management. She's known for research around family reconstruction and family psychology, but she also has been working with performance changes, and is very, very well known for her research. So what happens in reality is, when we put this into work, down there to the left, you see I get my assignment as the transformation manager or whatever I call myself. Management discovers that I create chaos in the organization, and the clock starts ticking. If that time frame is too broad, too long, I get fired. That's normal. So get you. It's very normal. So if this doesn't work, what does? This works. Small steps. I don't go deeper into this, but the idea of actually doing small steps, and that means really small steps. It is steps where you actually don't feel it, you don't see it, you don't plan for it, it's just happening continuously, and suddenly you're doing things differently than you did a year ago, but you haven't realized how you got there. It's just happening. I keep my job. Today we call this Kaizen, continuous improvement. It's very fancy talking about in this Japanese lingo, but that's basically the essence of it. Continuous improvement, do small steps of improvement. So the challenge we had in Odigio was we had a very slow product development. We had a very traditional prioritization process. Every 3 months, executive committee got together, made the decisions around what is in, what is out. Which projects are we going to stop? Which projects are we going to start? Long prioritization process before that. You can imagine a lot of prestige in these projects, right? Every 3 months they are coming, and you need to work hard on your business cases. So it was very often a ramp-up time of 5 to 6 months for getting anything in this 3 months cadence for approval. And since it's a competition to win at the decision-making committee, you can understand what the numbers were, right? Made up. Complex dependencies we had in the organization. Very many organizations have these, siloed. You need to manage these dependencies. We had no way of measuring capacity. So going back to the maturity model, I would say we were at 0, at the point of -1 almost. And we had an awkward estimation process, which was magic. Right? Like many companies do, where I have elaborated Excel sheets where they input the idea of number of hours needed for a certain skill, and then it just explodes in all the other skills, and suddenly you know how many people you need for everything. And that resulted in 300% over time for us. And that is the average of things. This doesn't count in all the projects which were discontinued. So gone beyond the commitment point, but thrown away. So that led, of course, to long lead times for anything we did, lost business opportunity, and no money, unhappy company actually, not only shareholders, but the whole company, because it's very unsatisfying not to finish anything you do and not seeing that the hard work you put in there gives you actually the result you want. So we realized this doesn't work. More and more people realize that this doesn't work. So we needed to do something. We started by breaking the size. That wasn't me. Yes, we started to break the silos. And we created cross-functional teams. What was at that time, it was the idea, it was pre actually our transformation, the idea of actually getting rid of the dependencies. The silos were really active. We had developers who were working in different parts of the system. And when you need to do a project, you had to deal with them all. And you can imagine the juggling our project managers had to do with these big different backlogs and priorities these guys had. And we were, of course, 100% resource optimized, so nothing was moving. Nothing was moving. So we tried this, right? We semi-cross-functional teams. We had not all the skills in that we actually needed, and we thought we had more business focus on this. For your Kanban people, we even created some teams which I name as a class of service for maintenance or intangible work. It's a very traditional old-time way of organizing your IT in a group which does maintenance. So one group of engineers does the development of new features, and the other one does the repair of what these guys bring, like all the failure demand. They take care of the failure demand. So the colorful guys, they don't repair the mess, they do. It's the purple guys, they are the los bomberos, the firemen. This had no relation with business outcome. It was just something to tackle the impossible dependencies between all the silos we had. So business people said, I need to achieve my business. The IT guy said, I have no clue what you are talking about. I haven't seen your budget. I need you to deliver my projects. And you think you are the only one. I have to deliver many projects. So there's still a barrier, a very hard barrier between the business area of the company and the IT area. IT was still seen as an agency, delivering stuff which business ordered. A little bit of the example that David gave with Hawaii, where the IT was just order takers. So the three amigos, almost the founders, but not really. One of the founders was in there, and two other C-level managers said, we need to do something about this. This doesn't work. So how do others do? They went to the others and visited them and see what are these guys doing and what makes them successful. Of course, if you look at Google, that's a completely different size, 37,000 engineers, and we are like 400. That's not even a department in Google. eBay is big too. Spotify at that time was not as big as it is now, but still double the size of what we are. And Booking.com, but the size doesn't matter. It's what made them successful is the essence of what they're doing. And what they have found when they came back, they didn't come with a recipe. There is no recipe. And Spotify, they have no prescribed methodology, right? They're just doing things, right? And it's in their DNA to do it right. But they came back with this. It was about speed. These guys are fast in what they do. They don't have long prioritization processes. They learn all the time how to do things better. They innovate by doing this. It creates innovation actually, and they have a strong customer focus. So this is where we are. Current condition, highly interdependent teams. So speed was not the issue because we were really, really slow. Even the learning and innovation, there was no space for it. Everybody was completely resource optimized and there was no movement and nothing. And customer focus was not the mantra of the day. So we wanted to go there, and we thought an idea of doing this is at least have autonomous teams in IT which can produce by themselves, make their own decisions what to do and when to do it and how to do it. So a couple of steps up there were probably a lot of steps up there. But the first step we thought was build a product organization. We didn't have that. We had business giving order to IT. So we wanted to change that. We wanted to have a product organization, an organization part of the organization which had more product focus, more customer focus at the same time. So we picked 3 teams. Completely cross-functional, PO and everything in these teams. And we had some external services like architects, specialists outside, and an Azure coach. And we connected them to business as good as possible at that time. It was still a loose connection, but there needed to be some communication between them. But it was not very structured. You will see later in the presentation what I mean by this. So, product organization build. Check. Yeah, checking boxes. But anybody know this guy? Mel Conway. I think he's very, very known in IT. Even my boss starts talking about them, so he must be known, right? So he said, an organization that designs a system will produce a design whose structure is a copy of the organization's communication structure. In plain English, that means if I have a very despotic leadership, I will create a monolith, a monolithic architecture, because that works best at that point. If I have a very despotic business model, it will create a monolith. So it's not only about leadership, it's also about what you do to your customers. It's because how you think. You are doing something to your customers. You're giving them something. You're trying to sell something. You're not listening, you sell. So we want to build this, but made to be more flexible and faster in what we do. But we got this. So how do we do this? Autonomous teams? Not yet. So no check mark there. So there needs to be a different way. We need to connect a vibrant product organization to rather hierarchical business organization we have today. So the people on the left, on the right, are producing stuff and producing an outcome. Now and then there comes a sustainable idea, a sustainable business, a sustainable product that later on maybe is managed through contracts and other stuff by a stable system of a hierarchical system to the left. That we don't know yet how it's going. So we are around there, but we don't know if both sides will exist. This is how far Kanban at team level alone would get us. We concentrated very much on the teams and actually taught methodologies and optimized their way of doing things. And to understand this a little bit deeper, I would like to talk about Kanban, ESP in connection to that, and what EDU is doing around these things. We are probably not following the rules really strictly when we do things. So for you who haven't seen this, these are the cadences in Kanban. It's how the different feedback loops we have in Kanban. We have everything from replenishment meetings up to strategic review, and there's input and output to everything. So one of them, the replenishment meetings, for example, they give information to the strategic review, the strategic review maybe changes the replenishment. So what teams actually are doing. So in Kanban, this is the first one. You do a daily stand-up Kanban meeting, right? Second one, you plan your replenishment. It's a little bit like, it's very Scrumish, that stuff. And then you plan delivery. You do your risk review, service delivery review, operations review, and the last one is the strategic review. So it's a bottom-up approach, very bottom-up. Enterprise service planning, the other way around. You start with C-level people and talk strategy, do the review of that. Then you go to the service delivery review, you go to risk review, operations, Then at some point you do maybe a Kanban meeting if you do Kanban down there, and replenishment meetings and delivery planning. Did you a bit different? I said we are not following the rules really. We actually started with this. This is where we had a lot of pain, and we still have pain. This is still planned, very much planned. It's a centralized release management organization. So there's a lot of planning. Kanban meetings, teams actually working with those, and replenishment meetings free. So the 4 and 5, I put them in there because we skipped the risk review for now. They are embedded in the service delivery review and in the operations review. We don't see the need yet to have a separate risk review. It's an advanced thing, at least from a Kanban perspective. So for you not familiar with this is doing the right thing on the left side, and this is doing the thing right. It's actually producing stuff. So, and from the levels down there, the yellow stuff, that is where it's a team focus, a local team focus, and up there you have the group of teams, higher organizational levels. So this is what we are doing, the yellow dashed line. We have half of the risk review in there. Strategic review, we are not touching at the moment. This is mainly for change resistance in upper management. It's not easy to change these behaviors, and by upper management I don't even mean C-level. It starts with product director level or any business director level. Don't need to be higher up to get the resistance for this. So what you actually need to do.
Okay, to ask a question?
You can ask me afterwards, please.
Okay.
Yeah, make a note. I lose my flow.
Okay.
So I lost my flow. So, but what you would do, and actually, when we started doing these things, we started measuring, right? Because I knew as soon as we started measuring, things would happen. We would see much clearer, and let the numbers do the talking. So, what do we measure? And this is a very simple introduction in our ideas of measurement and what we actually do with Kanban in our special case. So you see, we still have development and release, and they are actually two independent services which are connected by an infinitive queue, which means they are two different services in Kanban lingo, but for now, not so. We don't need to make it complicated. We have a commitment point, we have an end point that we call the customer lead time, the whole thing in between, and we have a local endpoint, that's the local lead time. Stuff the development team has control over. So what we measure is when we look actually the active time, when something is worked on and how much it is worked on. We look at the inactive time, when is it waiting, how much time is that, and we consider the whole release process as waste of time and actually unnecessary waiting time. Example of this is continuous delivery, where you actually push the button and basically have it in production. Not that simple, but I'm working on another initiative in the company, which we call the 15 minutes challenge. So going from 3 weeks release timing to 15 minutes is quite a challenge, and we are getting slowly there, part by part by part. So for me, the whole release part is waste of time. So this is what we are measuring. So I can measure, that's the formula for it, active working time divided by lead time gives you a percentage of something. So you have a flow efficiency maybe of 24%. When I then looked at these 24% locally and looked at what the same team could achieve through the whole chain customer flow efficiency, it was half of it. So we were 12% left. We lost 12% of flow efficiency in the release process. So that did the trick. Normally it's very difficult to quantify the investment of changing systems or changing architecture, even in smaller parts of your system, ecosystem. But this did the trick. Of course, I didn't do it myself. I just told them the magic of the numbers, and then we had a couple of consultants which start with M and finish with C, or Kinsey. And they did the selling part, but they had the numbers now. We could actually quantify everything. So now what? Done our job. Good. We're good now, right? Just like continue doing it and getting better at the same thing. Our current approach is designed for local optimization. You saw it yourself. We are looking at one team, the release process for one team or one service or one part of the system, and we optimize that. This is basically what we do then. We even sporadically have business people creating Kanbans and connecting them with the execution team's Kanban. So it's very sporadically. So there's no system of improvement. There's no systematic improvement. And this is basically where we have been until recently. And we have a lot of tools. We are very proud of our tools. Tony has written it. David was talking about the depth of Kanban. We have created one for ourselves to see actually improvement areas for single team. So we are supporting single teams. This one is very simple. You see the stuff on the outside of the radar. This is stuff. It's a little bit like ThoughtWorks technology radar, but the same idea. The more close you are to the center, those are the things you actually are doing. So it's a type of maturity, but I really don't want to call it a maturity. It's more identifying areas where you could improve, and they are not linear like in the maturity model. You pick them at random, where you actually makes impact today, because makes impact on the local level. We have a lot of other tools, other graphics, which we show for every team. We measure a lot of stuff. So you can see, maybe we can see which team needs attention. Can you see that? Actually, I can't anymore because it's too cluttered. I know, I don't see it anymore, right? We don't even know how long a team has been engaged, how long they have been working together and nothing. Things get lost now, right? We get lost. It's difficult to scale up local optimization techniques into higher levels, into higher abstraction levels. Boom. We got more teams, right? We are a team of 10 agile coaches, and suddenly there came big investments and new products and new product ideas and a lot of new teams. So this is not scaling anymore. One agile coach, 3 teams, acting as a, in Kanban we say flow facilitator, in Scrum you would say Scrum Master, some mixture of that, and that's not sustainable, and it's definitely not scalable. We would need 10 more agile coaches. You can imagine the cost. I don't know many other companies who have 10 agile coaches. Spotify has, but they have 800 developers. So we need a structured way to find high-level improvement opportunities. So we want to know how this thing is improving, not the single team. We want to know how the whole is improving. Systems thinking, is that the trick to do? Yeah, the Patrick is, yes. Yeah, maybe, right? It is system thinking, and when you talk about it, it gets very easily very abstract and very academic. I tell you the story of what we do. You have the other part from my colleagues later today in the afternoon. They will talk about how to combine this systems thinking with what we do in Kanban more in depth and more in detail. I will just scratch the top. So, yeah, systems thinking might be the idea, right? You have a lot of Kanban systems, and we want to create a network. So what we did, we started identifying at least areas of teams and services and connections which exist. Very nice picture. So we thought of, okay, we have domains, we call them domains, areas, domains, a name, where we have teams, we have business people, we have stakeholders, we have anything which has any influence on the system as a whole, on the domain as a whole. And we put a couple of agile coaches in front of there, and they take care about the whole area. That is the idea. Now that means, of course, that you need to pull out you need to take off your Scrum Master dress, and you need to take a step back and leave the teams alone. We give them the tools, of course, to do that. We give them all the knowledge they need to do the stuff they need to do themselves. How do we get this mess to improve? That's not an easy case. And we are now implementing, as we speak, these two Kanban cadences, the service delivery review and the operations review. Basically, service delivery reviews are, how is my team doing? I will explain it later. How is the team doing from a quantitative point of view? And all that information from these groups of teams, our systems or Kanban systems, are flown into the operations review, where we basically look at trends. I'll show you that later too. So, service delivery, a little bit more in detail. So we collect information about the teams. We have fitness for purpose and health metrics. And fitness for purpose is the things that our customer asks us. Customer can be the product organization by itself, or the real customer through inquiries we do. We have quite an advanced UX lab. It can be business people making a new deal, which gives us something nice. So they were asked for lead times, they are asked for quality, and we are asked for predictability and what we do. Then we have the health metrics of our process, which are the flow efficiency. Nobody asked about flow efficiency. So it's just us wanting to know that our process is healthy. Throughput, nobody asks about our throughput either. It's something where we know our process is healthy or not healthy. And of course, how much is our stuff blocked? And what is it blocked by? So we cluster these blockers. And then we have some information about improvement activities, about our Kanban implementation as such, and also the process as such. Two different things. No? The operations review is very different. We collect all these data from all these different teams and put trends, and only the trends to show in the operations review. So we see flow efficiency may go down. We see that our throughput goes down. We see a lot of different things. Our lead time goes up in general over all teams. Maybe you have one single outlier who's still living, right? But in general, we see these trends. So what are these people who are sitting in the operations review are going to do about it? So instead of shouting at every single team, guys, you need to get better at stuff, right? They will have the job to actually improve the environment for the teams. So the impediments which make these the bad performance happen go away. It can be simple things, but somebody somewhere is a single bottleneck and makes 4 teams perform worse, and we didn't know about it. Or we have a partner who's not fulfilling the contract end time, which makes performance go down. What are we going to do about these things? The teams surely can't do anything about this. This is then management who needs to act and needs to commit to actions to fix this. So we have health trends, and we have fitness trends. This is stuff we are implementing as I speak now. So I can't give you like the big results of it. How good are we doing at the moment? But this is what we are doing now. Start. So are we there yet? Not really. Right? We have a long way to go. And if I look at the maturity model from David, which David just presented, I see us being all over the place. So I see sometimes I do have visitors in the company. I do little rounded guided tours around and what we do, and it's really, I think it's refreshing to see we have everything there. We have everything from oblivious, right? We don't care about any process, maybe not in the development teams, but to personal Kanban, which is more emerging in the business because the business people see what the dev guys do and they are like doing a cargo copy of it. But these things are emerging, and we see it everywhere, up to the highest level Kanbans, which are very, very managed, and where we even manage outcome. We have a couple of product owners sitting here from our company, and they can tell you that we manage the outcome of things and try to improve that. So what we've done so far is we have worked with teams. All this stuff we have worked with the basic Kanban principles, and we are working on the bigger level now, right? We want to have end-to-end ownership for teams or group of teams, so they own business actually, and not just the execution of something. Again, the product owners can testify that. We are looking at operational excellence. If something breaks, the people know why it's broken. That's the idea. We want to work as one team and have real customer orientation. And we want to deliver value continuously. We are not there yet, but we are on our way of doing this. And of course, we think that gives us happy and engaged people. Both in the company, but even the customers outside us. The next bigger thing thinking about is even getting clear professional services of what we do. We have more product thinking in everything we do. We still have the ghost project in our house, and it's not even a ghost. It's really it's alive. It's still alive. Half of our teams are still running projects. We want to implement a Kaizen culture, a real Kaizen culture, which is not something which happens somewhere in a product development organization. It is something which happens in the whole group, from top to bottom. So it will not be committees steering big initiatives. It's small things which need to change, and we want, of course, have a leadership that's fit to that. A real leadership where we talk about servant leadership and being part of it instead of being on top of it. And as a company, we want to be socially responsible, of course. Start small when you do any change. If you go out there and do work with a change initiative, anybody asks you, start small. I actually think we started too big. But we've done what we've done. We have invested in 10 agile coaches. Measure what you do. It's the basics of it all. Measure it. If you don't measure it, what do you change? It's gut feeling, right? It becomes beliefs and religion. Understand your context. So what are you living in? Spotify and eDreams are very, very different. eDreams is a low margin, high volume business. You need to sell a shitload of tickets to make money. Spotify, I don't think they make money. I don't think they need to make money yet. Sorry, Spotify. Improve collaboratively and transversal, which means not just in one little corner. Try to improve over the whole breadth of your company, which means it can be very thin parts you connect, but do it the whole way. Just improving one simple little part will not do the trick. I've seen it because I've done that. Thank you. There was a question.
Yeah, so basically you also answered a little bit when you explained the service review, delivery review, but also I was interested to find out where you embedded this retrospective moment for the team, how they improve collaboration between them. Is this a separate discussion that is happening all the time, or you also do this in this service delivery meeting?
Within the teams or between teams?
Well, in one team. No.
In one team we have the retrospective part. We do the scrummish stuff.
Okay.
So if you ask me, it wouldn't be needed. I'm not a fan of it, but it's happening. So and it has its place at certain points of a development of a team. As many companies, even we do reshuffling of teams now and then. So these events are actually not so much about improving, but more getting together, right? In some way we do improve, but for me the getting together part has a value by itself. Right? Yes, please.
Two questions. First, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understood, business people are not in teams, inside teams. So the first question is why business people are not inside teams, and then what you told us one metric. What others do you have? Okay.
Business people are not in teams, and the reason is a historical and very simple. We created a product organization, which was the third leg suddenly in the company, right? But what happens at the moment is we are connecting business tighter, more and more tight with the teams, and they become more a service than part of a team, right? Business is asking for something, and they are service requesters, basically. But we need to understand how the teams work. So we have now done work with business and teams together to understand where do we overlap, where do we actually do the same things. Product owners, we have seen product owners and some business owners doing exactly the same thing, complete match. So something was not right. By just showing that, it repairs itself almost. Right, Gibbo?
Yeah.
Okay, more questions?
And the second question?
The metrics. We are measuring basically out of this. The measurement points you get so many things around. You get blockers, what's the blocking time, what's the blocker clustering, what's the reason for blocking, all the different cycle times you get out of there, if that might be interesting. But really, the number I think is interesting. That's flow efficiency. That is for me the thing where you see if your process is really working, and then you can dig into the other stuff to actually find the improvement areas. But if you see that the flow efficiency is bad, then you know something. If it's good, which means it's like in the 40s, that is really good. Then you're actually fine, and you should look at maybe other improvement areas, or go upstreams, right? Very often we are looking now at numbers from the execution part, right? Where we maybe are tweaking, I mentioned the 50 minutes initiative, challenge I had. Where we are tweaking minutes now, right? Or we are going down from hours to minutes and stuff. When you actually can catch weeks and months upstream. So it's a little bit of where you put your energy, and where you can put your energy. Can be a lot of politics around these things. Yes, please.
So I'm really interested about the origins, about the team of. So you are now telling you have around 10 agile coaches on there.
Yes.
So in my case, I'm working for a really high hierarchical company, and there agile coaches are new role, position introduced in the company. and still you have access only to the level of the hierarchy of communication. I mean, so you can communicate only at the level. How did you do to detach from this positioning, getting an aside position there, and enable channels of communication with all levels, and not just keep following order and keep following what you are supposed to do, and keep doing the things in the way the culture says you have to do? How did you do it at the beginning?
Very simple. I was invited to a dinner by the CEO, and he told me, "Can you help me?" So that was basically it. And what happened is, of course, that gave the buy-in to actually go anywhere in the organization. So that's it. It needs to, if you don't have the buy-in from the top level executives, this becomes very difficult. So if you live in a very hierarchical environment where a certain level of managers hires you, you are bound to that level, right? Maybe you can touch levels below that. It's very difficult to touch levels above. I don't have a recipe for that. We can discuss it afterwards. More questions? Thank you very much.